Most of our viewers know about our theory that Ethan's body was moved post-mortem. And after viewing the crime scene photo of Ethan on Nancy Grace's channel, we are more convinced than ever that Ethan was moved post-mortem. Payne's description of Ethan's body doesn't match the crime scene photo. Payne said Ethan was laying on his back at an angle across the bed. His head was up against the wall on the south side of the bed. And his feet were hanging off the bed on the north side of the bed, the opposite side. Take a moment to view how Payne described seeing the scene, below. As you can see, Payne also described seeing, quote, a very large amount of blood on the bed, unquote. So let's take a look. There doesn't appear to be any amount of blood at all on the bed. And keep in mind, we're seeing what Payne was seeing as he first observed the body, as it was laying there. And there's no way a very large amount of blood would just settle underneath Ethan and not seep out onto the bed around him. Next, let's take a closer look at Ethan's legs. Clearly, they're not hanging off the side of the bed, as Payne described. We can see the edge of the bed, and Ethan's feet are nowhere near the edge, and Ethan is 6'4" tall. He's laying at an angle, such that his head is up against the wall on one side of the bed. So if his legs were flat, they would come off the side of the bed, right next to the corner. But if we look closer, we can see what's going on. Ethan's legs are bent at the knees, while his head is slightly prompted up against the wall. So, if he were on his side, he would be in a fetal position. And how could Payne have seen the deep cut wounds behind Ethan's legs if the legs were flat? The crime scene photo seems to confirm our theory from a year ago that Ethan was moved post-mortem. And the photo suggests he was moved after rigor mortis set in. In forensic investigations, the position of the body during rigor mortis can provide clues about the circumstances surrounding the death, including whether the body was moved after death. Now let's go back to the photo. He's on his back, knees bent, 2 deep cuts behind the legs, and no sign of blood. And notice how close together his knees are. The effect of gravity should have caused the knees to spread farther apart than they are. We're not saying spread eagle, because there may be other forces at play. But certainly farther apart than they appear in the photo. For all those reasons, the scene appears unnatural and manipulated. While fetal positioning is a much more natural reaction to what took place. Some of you may think the injuries behind Ethan's legs may have caused them to bend after death. But that's not possible. The position of the legs after death is determined by the onset of rigor mortis, not by the presence of wounds. Deep-cut wounds can cause blood loss and potentially affect circulation, but they don't determine the final positioning of the legs after death. If the legs were laying flat at the time of death, rigor mortis would have fixed the legs in that position. If the knees were bent, such as in a fetal position, at the time of death, rigor mortis would have fixed the legs in that position. I think everyone wanted to have a sense of closure. Unfortunately, in this case, there is none. There are loose ends at every turn. Thanks for viewing. Please like, subscribe and comment.